A new trial has commenced in Argentina, marking a significant development in the ongoing case surrounding the death of football legend Diego Maradona. The 61-year-old Argentine icon lost their lives on November 25, 2020, at his home in Buenos Aires, sparking widespread tributes and investigations. The trial, which began on Monday, centers around the allegations that Dr. Anthony Preston, a British doctor who had been treating Maradona for opioid addiction, played a role in his death. According to reports, Maradona lost their lives from a heart attack, but the investigation has raised questions about whether his treatment contributed to his demise. Looking ahead, the outcome of this trial will shed light on the circumstances surrounding Maradona's death and potentially lead to changes in Argentina's healthcare policies regarding addiction treatment. The scene unfolded at a Turning Point USA event in Washington, D.C. yesterday, where U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris was set to speak. However, the conversation took an unexpected turn as Harris was heckled by an audience member, Vance, who criticized her remarks about Pope Leo. Harris had been discussing the importance of religious tolerance and the need for leaders to approach sensitive topics with care. Vance, however, jumped in, saying that the Pope should be careful when he talks about matters of theology. The exchange highlights a growing divide between conservative and liberal voices on issues of faith and politics. Looking ahead, this incident underscores the increasingly polarized nature of public discourse, where even seemingly innocuous comments can spark heated debates. As the U.S. continues to grapple with its complex identity as a nation of diverse faiths and values, such exchanges will likely become more frequent and contentious. U.S. forces launched a strike in the Eastern Pacific, incident 4 people on board vessels. This incident marks the latest in a series of deadly strikes by U.S. forces in the region over the past 4 days, leaving a total of at least 12 people casualties reported. The strikes have raised concerns about escalating tensions and potential miscalculations in the region. Background information suggests that the area has seen increased military activity following recent conflicts with neighboring countries. Looking ahead, it remains to be seen how this incident will impact regional stability and diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. Israel and Lebanon held their first direct talks in decades yesterday, marking a significant step towards resolving long-standing tensions between the two nations. The talks, which took place in Paris, were facilitated by French officials and aimed to discuss issues such as border disputes and security concerns. Background discussions had been underway for several years, but this marked the first time that Israeli and Lebanese officials met directly to negotiate a resolution. The agreement to begin negotiations is seen as a positive development, with both sides expressing optimism about the potential for a lasting peace. Looking ahead, it remains to be seen whether these talks will yield concrete results, but the fact that they are taking place at all suggests a willingness from both parties to engage in meaningful dialogue. A migrant boat has sunk in the Indian Ocean, leaving over 250 people missing. According to the United Nations, the trawler reportedly sank due to heavy winds, rough seas, and overcrowding. This tragic incident highlights the ongoing challenges faced by migrants attempting to cross the world's oceans, often in search of a better life. The UN has expressed concern about the lack of safety measures in place for migrant vessels, which can put passengers at risk of losing their lives. Looking ahead, international authorities will need to step up efforts to address these issues and ensure that those seeking refuge have access to safe and humane conditions. A desperate phone call from a trapped correspondent in South Kordofan State, Sudan, has brought to light a devastating war that's been unfolding for 3 years. The caller, identified as Mohammed Suleiman, was able to send a distress signal after his phone suddenly turned on, allowing him to contact the outside world. Mohammed Suleiman, a journalist from the United Arab Emirates, had been reporting on the conflict in Sudan since its outbreak in 2021. His messages reveal a dire situation where civilians are bearing the brunt of the violence, with many losing their lives or forced to flee their homes. The war has also led to widespread human rights abuses and a severe humanitarian crisis. Looking ahead, the international community will likely be watching for any signs of progress in the conflict, as well as increased efforts to protect journalists like Mohammed Suleiman who risk their lives to report on this ongoing crisis.